Hey, quick video for you today. I thought I would shoot a step-by-step process on how you can combat muscle imbalances daily. First of all though, what is a muscle imbalance? A muscle imbalance is you've got tight muscles in one area of the body and muscles opposing it which are weaker, and therefore it's putting pressure on joints. Particularly this happens with the shoulders and the hips most of the time because of the positions we're putting ourselves in, and therefore you start getting little injuries and little pains. Particularly you might get something in the front of the shoulder where you're getting a nagging pain every time you raise your arm up, and that's predominantly caused by a muscle imbalance. So like I just said before, we're putting ourselves in positions that are unfavorable, which are leading to these imbalances in the first place. So basically leading to tight muscles in the front of the body, particularly if we're talking about the shoulders here, and then weaker muscles in the back of the body. So if you imagine like when you're sitting down at your desk, if you're working, 9 times out of 10, you're in a sort of a rounded shouldered position. That's not very favorable for the front of the shoulders. It leads to a tight chest, tight front delt, tight lats, everything that basically rolls your shoulders in, and you get that round shouldered look. So a simple way to address this is a 3-step system. Basically, the easiest way I like to look at this is, number 1, we want to stretch tight muscles. So the tight muscles that we're talking about here are the front of the shoulders, the chest, the lats, the biceps, anything that's pulling those muscles forward and the shoulders forward. The second thing we want to do is strengthen. So when we strengthen, what we're talking about here is anything that's opposite to those muscles. So those ones we just listed before, the chest, shoulders, biceps, lats, we want to basically strengthen up the ones that oppose those. Think about muscles of the upper back, your rhomboids, which are the muscles in between your shoulder blades. Anything that puts you in this position where you're extended, you're sort of standing up tall. Think about, when you're a little kid and they told you at school to sit up straight and you have your chest up and your shoulders are back. That's actually the position that those muscles will hold you in if they're strong enough. Chances are 9 times out of 10 for most people, they're just not strong enough. They haven't developed those muscles enough, and the ones in the front are taking over. So we want to reverse that by strengthening those muscles. And then the third one is retrain. So this is the big one that a lot of people tend to neglect because, it takes work and it's often harder than the first two. It's harder to do this one than it is to stretch or to strengthen because it's retraining a movement. The reason it happened in the first place is because you're adopting a movement or a static position where you're sitting down and you're maybe letting your shoulders round forward, and that's leading to the problem in the first place. It can mean a number of different things. It doesn't have to be that you're always sitting in a slouch position. Sometimes you might be sitting up nice and tall, which is great. However, being in a sitting position, a seated position all the time will lead to these imbalances. So what we need to do is retrain that movement. Step number 1, if you are sitting with a rounded shoulder position, pulling those shoulder blades back is going to be a great start. And then also looking at adopting a different way of getting things done. So if you're working in an area that supports you having something like a stand-up desk, that might be another great idea. It gets you out of the position that already caused these problems in the first place. This one is challenging because it's a behavioral change. We're changing a habit or a behavior that we've been doing, which has led to the problem in the first place. If we go through that step by step, so number 1, you're stretching those tight muscles. Number 2, you're strengthening them. And number 3, you're retraining them. So step by step, if you look at the board here, we've got stretch, strengthen, retrain. If you follow that each day and you run those things through your head, so every time you might be sitting down, you might do some stretches, you're putting hand up against the wall and you're stretching out the front of the chest here. You're doing some strengthening exercises. You might do something like a wall slide where you're sitting against the wall like so. Your shoulders and your head and chest are against the wall and you're just moving the upper arm, keeping contact in with the wall. And then retraining. So if you catch yourself sitting at your desk with the round shouldered, pull your shoulders back, sit up nice and tall. Every now and then get up, have a stretch. When you're standing up, making sure you're squeezing your glutes, address the areas in the hips as well. If you start implementing those 3 steps, you're going to be miles ahead and you're going to start to reverse the damage of some of these imbalances and avoid a lot of those injuries that keep coming up. Your shoulders shouldn't hurt every time you raise your arm up above your head. Your body should be able to do that. If you're getting constant pain, it's something that you're doing day in and day out that's causing the problem. Once we find that, and it's 9 times out of 10, it's behavioral or the positions that you're in most of the time, you're going to find you're going to reverse that and get rid of it. So go through those 3 things. Remember, stretch, strengthen, retrain. And if you follow that, I guarantee you're going to be able to combat these things every single day.